Hey guys, welcome back. Today we're out at the range with a brand new pistol from Arex. In my hands, I have the Rex Zero 1 CP, which is the compact version, the full-size pistol that we were first introduced to when we start off the entire Gauntlet series. This little handgun, or I should say its bigger brother, breezed through those tests and it became the gold standard by which we've measured all other guns in the Gauntlet testing series. But a lot of people were asking, well, why not a striker-fired gun? Why did you only bring a double-action, single-action handgun to market? Good question. Well, now they have, and that's what this video is about. So let's start off by shooting the Rex Zero 1 CP, and then we'll transition over to the new Rex Delta. Definitely a sweet shooting pistol. Let's see how that new Delta works. The Rex Delta will come in a box like this. They are available at Copper for $479.99. That's where we got this one, is from Copper Custom. When you open the box up, you're going to have an instruction sheet that's laying on top of the firearm and magazines that tells you pretty much everything you need to know about the gun, getting it up and running. Let's go ahead and stick that underneath the case. Then inside the foam case, you will find the pistol, 3 additional back straps. So you have 1 on the pistol, 3 additional ones for a total of 4. And then you have 2 magazines with the gun, and these are 15-round magazines. One of them will have just a flush mount base plate, and the other one will have an extended base plate. And it looks like you can pluck foam out and stick something else in there. It looks like another magazine. So it'll hold up to 3 magazines in the box, 4 if you put one in the pistol. So let's grab the pistol out. Set this aside. So taking a look at the pistol, it's a polymer framed handgun, something we're used to seeing. You can see it says Delta. The grips are very flat on the sides. You have good texturing on the front and rear of the grip, but again, it's very angular looking. You can see it's very boxy looking. We have a magazine release on the right-hand side and also the left-hand side. So it's fairly flush. You can kind of see that it kind of fits into the contour of the grip. Does not require reversal. We also have a slide stop slide release on the right-hand side of the pistol, as well as the left-hand side of the pistol. So as it comes out of the box, the gun is fully ambi. So it's good for right or left-handed shooters. You're going to find that the pistol also has front slide serrations and rear slide serrations. They seem to give a pretty good bite to them, so they're nice and sharp, but not excessively so. On the top, we have a loaded chamber indicator that's very reminiscent of like the XD series of pistols. And then we have dovetailed sights front and rear, and I'm not sure if they're compatible with other dovetailed sights out there on the market or if they're proprietary to the gun, but you're going to have a white dot on the front and then a serrated rear sight. It's a very deep square notch, not V-notch, in the rear sight, nice and deep, and then a white dot in the front. And then the front of the rear sight is square cut, so you can run it down clothing, off a table, whatever, for one-handed manipulations. You'll also notice when the gun has its striker in the ready-to-fire position, you'll see a little red dot right there in the rear. So when you look down, you'll see the red dot. If the gun is decocked, that's what you'll see. Now as you pull the striker to the rear, or I'm sorry, you pull the trigger to the rear, watch that little pin. So the striker is only partially cocked. As you pull the trigger, see how it's drawing the striker further rearward before it releases. So it's a partially cocked striker, which makes for just a little bit heavier trigger pull. But the trigger pull is not bad on the gun. We'll get a measurement here. The grip feels very good. The controls are intuitive for my big hands. I can easily reach everything. Disassembly is pretty straightforward. It looks like a Glock style disassembly method. So what we're going to do is you can do it both with the striker cocked or by decocking it by pulling the trigger. Now you're going to want to make sure that the weapon's clear before you start this process, because pulling the slide off with the striker cocked, if you have a round in the chamber, it does drop the striker. It may not have enough inertia to fire it because it's partially cocked. I don't know, and I don't want to find out because I don't want to try to fire it while I'm taking it apart for obvious reasons. So I do have the striker currently cocked. All you have to do is grab it, pull it slightly rearward, pull down on the two tabs, just like a Glock. The slide will kind of go forward just a little bit, but push forward and pull up, and it just pops off. So you don't have to pull it all the way forward off the slide rails. It just kind of goes forward just a little bit and then just pops straight off the top. Taking a look at the bottom half of the pistol, the polymer reminds me of 3D printed material. It's not 3D printed. I can see that it's cast. You can see the seam right here where the web of your hand would be. So it's definitely molded, but it just has a production 3D printed feel about it. If you look at the magazine well, much like a Glock, it's very minimalistic. I can flex it, but it seems to be a harder polymer than the Glock polymer. You'll see that's slightly beveled on the sides there. And then there's a single pin right here in the rear that holds the grip panels in. So you'll want to drive this pin out. You can see it here, which you can put a little lanyard loop on it as well if you choose to do so. But that roll pin holds that grip panel in place. We have slide rails, front and rear. Very Glock-like. And that's pretty much your lower assembly. You'll notice also, like the Glock, it has the inertial safety on the trigger, what I like to call the dingus. And that's a drop safety for those of you that don't know. And so the weight of the trigger won't pull its own trigger should you drop it from any height. On the other half of the gun, we have a captive recoil spring. That is metal. Just double checked it, but yep, it's definitely metal. And then we just have a traditional Browning type action. There's your feed ramp. So, yeah, pretty straightforward, simple. Nothing revolutionary in terms of design. Borrows heavily from other designs already on the market, particularly the Glock, using a Browning action. So, about the only thing that's a little bit different is the disassembly method, only because the slide pulls straight up off the frame. All right, to put it back together, all you have to do is, if you look inside, I don't know if Jason can get a shot of this, you can see the slide rails right here. See how it opens up here in the rear? Just line up your rear rails with those two openings, and then the slide should just push straight down onto the gun. So I'm going to take it, line up those rear slide rails, push down and pull back, and the pistol goes back together very quickly and easily. So the disassembly is very simple and straightforward. This is the first magazine out of the gun, guys. We've taken it straight out of the box. We took it apart, looked inside. I'm not going to put any lubricant on it right now. I just want to see if it runs out of the box. The gun feels really good, even with my big hands. It's a Glock 19 size pistol. In pictures, when I first saw it in pictures, I thought, oh my gosh, that thing is absolutely ginormous. With no frame of reference, there's nothing in the picture next to it to give me an idea of size. So the gun looked really, really big. When you get it in your hand, it feels really, really small and has a nice low bore axis, so it sets nice and low in your hand. So I like the way the gun feels. You can kind of see the contour there where it kind of bumps out at the bottom. It keeps my hand nice and tight. We have texturing around the trigger guard here for those of you that like to shoot with the offhand with your index finger wrapped around the trigger guard. And then we do have an accessory rail here on the bottom with one T slot. All right, let's load it up with, let's see which magazine I pull out of my pocket first. The +2. So it's a standard 15-round handgun. It does come with a 17-round magazine that has a +2 base plate on it, but it's not really necessary for a positive grip. All right, locked it in there. Now that's a fully loaded magazine. Inserted just fine, wasn't overly difficult. but trying to charge it with that full magazine is very difficult. That top round is really in there. You cannot push that thing down any further, so it's creating a lot of friction on the bottom of that slide. So with the topped off 17 round magazine, loading it that way definitely makes more sense. All right, let's see how she shoots. First few rounds. Okay, so I was firing slow there, trying to feel that trigger reset. The trigger reset's nice and short. I can definitely feel it when it resets. I will say that this squared off rear end is not the most comfortable, so I may try swapping out that grip panel because that's just straight and very square. And that right edge bites right into the palm of my hand. You can see the mark right there. So that's uncomfortable with the tight grip. Not painful, just uncomfortable. And probably something you get used to. All right, drop that magazine out. Let's grab the 15 rounder. And so I typically reload by sticking the magazine in, reaching up with this thumb and dropping the slide. Seems to load just fine. Okay, another good thing for me is many times on a new handgun, I'll ride that slide stop slide release and it won't lock open on last shot fired. I'm not running into that with this gun. It's locking open for me just fine. That grip is uncomfortable. The more I shoot it, the more painful that really square butt becomes. I may actually punch that roll pin out before the end of this video and see if one of the other grips better fits my hand. So far, I mean, 2 magazines, right? Not an extensive test, but it functioned flawlessly, bone dry. There's no oil on it when it ships. And I actually like the way it shoots. I really love how low it sets in my hand, how controllable it is. The recoil impulse is very manageable. So far, I like it. I went ahead and swapped out that rear grip panel, and it seems to give me a little bit better comfort. It's not squared off anymore. It kind of tapers up on the sides. It's still quite flat and square and angular in the rear, but it seems to feel a little bit better. So let's run a couple magazines through it with the swapped out grip panel and see if that makes a difference. Makes a big difference. So the grip panel that it ships with, I personally find to be uncomfortable. Switching it to the next largest grip panel, this I believe would be considered, it's not medium, but it's it's one up from the completely flat grip panel, and that certainly seems to work a lot better. The magazine release works quite well for me. Now I know some folks have expressed some concern about having an ambi mag release, that it's just too easy to accidentally bump it. As you can see, my hand is nowhere near that mag release, and it's not really extended. It's nice. It sticks out just enough where you can easily get to it, but you're not going to hit it with your trigger finger. The only concern might be in a holster or something like that. So in the history of me shooting ambi mag release guns, I've never accidentally dropped a magazine out of it because the mag release being on the other side, but some folks may run into that problem. I've just never seen it happen. Yeah, that feels really good. So you have that texturing there. You know, when your finger's off the trigger, you can feel that little bit of texture there. and the controllability and shootability of the gun is really, really good. The Rex Delta definitely is targeting the same audience as the Glock 19 owner. The handguns are nearly identical in size. The grip length is about the same. The Delta has a slightly shorter barrel, but overall, you're going to find that the two handguns are roughly the same size. Any size difference is going to be minimal and not going to make that much difference in terms of concealed carry. So the big difference between the Delta and the Glock 19, which I love the Glock 19, is that the Delta has better ergonomics. The Glock still feels like a 2x4 in my hands. Can shoot it well, but I'm not going to lie and say that they're ergonomic. They're not. The other gun, which, you know, the Glock kind of started this craze. I mean, the Glock 19 is the perfect sized carry gun, and Smith & Wesson eventually caught up with their 2.0 9, which is the same size. The one I have here is the same size as the Glock 19. Once again, you're going to find that the two handguns are roughly the same size. They're going to be roughly the same thickness. The M&P looks like it may be a little bit thicker. We could do measurements, but overall, again, guys, it's not going to make a huge difference in concealed carry. The grips are roughly the same length, and we're working with the same length barrel and slide. All right, and last but not least, the CZ P10C. Again, another competitor that's Glock 19 size, so much so that many Glock 19 holsters will work with the P10C. This one has the Acro on it. Yeah, so of all of these, I think the P10C is the most ergonomic. The Delta, I think, would be a close second with the Smith & Wesson. The Smith & Wesson's pretty good, and the Glock being the last, my last choice for ergonomics. And of course, that's opinion. You guys may have a different opinion. So again, very similar in size, and the grips are about the same length. So that gives you a size comparison. This gun definitely is targeting that Glock 19 sized pistol audience. Let's try out some hollow points. These are some Freedom Munitions X-Def hollow points. It's a fairly aggressive hollow point. I'm going to load 15 rounds into the pistol. With the 15-round magazine, charging the weapon's very, very easy to do. That 17-rounder fully topped off is a little bit more of a chore. Let's see how these X-Def cycle the pistol. Pretty good. Try one more mag of them. Again, the X-Def. Chewing the center out of the target, man. This little gun shoots. So let's see if we got some other hollow points over there in Peaches we can try out. We found some additional hollow points, so let's give them a crack. We have some 150 grain HSTs. Nice heavy bullet weight. Cycled those just fine. Then we have some 124 grain gold dots. Very popular carry round. The 147 grains being my favorite of the line. Woo, those are warm. Okay, of all the ammunition we fired out here this afternoon, those were definitely the warmest. and the little gun handles them just fine. So it doesn't seem like hollow points are going to create any problems with the Delta, which is a good thing because it's designed for concealed carry. The Rex Delta seems to be a competitively priced and featured handgun if you take a look at the Glock 19, the Smith & Wesson, or even the P10C. The features are rock solid, full ambi controls. The one thing that's missing from this gun that seems to be all the rage right now, most new guns coming out include this, and that's an optics cut. Now, I don't know how well that's going to work with their loaded chamber indicator. I'm sure there's plenty of room there. Maybe in a future generation of this handgun, they'll include the optics cut. I really would have liked to have seen that on the gun on the first edition. But outside of that, I like the ergonomics. Once I replaced that back panel, I found that the ergonomics are really solid. The texturing is perfect for a nice firm grip. And it's not overly done. Think of the RTF2 texturing of the old Glocks that felt like 60 grit sandpaper. It's not like that at all. It feels very good. It's a very flat, thin little handgun. And overall, I think it's a pretty solid entry for the Glock 19 alternative market. So, yeah, if you guys want to try one out, go see if you can find one at your local dealer. Again, we got this one from Copper Custom, and that's coppercustom.com, and they're $479.99. Yeah, 480 bucks. So let's go ahead and load up the last magazine. Guys, if you would like to support us here at the Military Arms Channel, the best possible way to do that is to become a Patreon supporter. We take no industry money. We're not getting paid to talk about the Rex Delta. We're not getting paid by Federal. They do donate ammunition to the channel, but we do not take any industry money. And we can only do that because we're Patreon supported. There is a link down below. Consider becoming a Patreon supporter. Also, swing by and check out Copper Custom. Last but not least, guys, we are Twitch gamers. If you would like to join us on a stream, become a Patreon, send us a note on the PSN network, let us know you're Patreon, and you can join us in a live stream while we're gaming. All right, guys, let's fire off the last 15 rounds and head home. Thanks for watching for 11 years. We'll talk to you soon.